Everyone keeps telling you to stop comparing yourself to other people, and that advice is exactly why you're still doing it. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to change your mentality so that comparison can stop working on your brain in just 3 different ways. The most dangerous thing about comparison isn't the fact that you yearn to be somebody else or live a different life. It is the fact that you miss every single beautiful thing that is already happening in your life. It's very common to hear from other people, wow, you're so lucky that you have this, and for you to not even think twice about it, for you not to bat an eye about it, or think, yeah, maybe I am so lucky to have this, because you're so used to having it. That beauty that somebody sees in your life is oftentimes missed by 100% of the time when you are comparing yourself to other people, to other environments. The greatest gift in life is to truly be you. You are the greatest blessing, which is why operating in your authenticity and truth is going to carry you the furthest in this life. If you've ever watched any of my videos, you know that I'm a huge advocate for being authentically yourself, being true to yourself. I have been somebody before that has not lived in my authenticity and truth, and it has brought me down paths and through journeys of life that I felt like I didn't necessarily need to be there. I didn't belong in those situations. I didn't belong down that journey. I didn't belong down that path. But at the end of the day, destiny is always written. It brought me to be more open about who I truly am. Pretending to be something that you are not only suppresses until one day you find yourself nowhere where you know that you were supposed to be. I heard somebody say through social media, if you could take all of your problems and put them into one big dish with everybody else's problems in the world, and you had to blindly choose out of that dish and pick up a problem, and that was going to be the problem that you had to deal with for the rest of your life, would you put your problems in the dish or would you keep the ones that you already have? Hearing that changed everything for me, and it definitely changed the way that I viewed comparison. I'm going to share with you one principle that could potentially erase comparison out of your life for good. And that principle is the fact that wherever there is a positive, there is also a negative. You don't know and may never know what somebody went through to gain the positive that you are comparing yourself to. Whether that be a materialistic item, a specific lifestyle, a look, an appearance, a behavior, a mentality, you genuinely do not know what that negative was that ended up having somebody gain that positive. And if you did know, you probably wouldn't even want the positive anymore. For an example, there are people out here who live very luxurious lifestyles, right? You see it all through social media. They're living the life on vacations, have all of the materialistic items, genuinely look like they are so happy. But they may be doing something that if they were to get caught, or if they were to be put into a situation that that negative gets exposed, they might just lose everything, including their life, the life of loved ones, the life that they currently have, and honestly, their freedom at the end of the day. Not only that, but they probably do live with a lot of guilt and shame for even having that positive. But if you were viewing that from a social media standpoint, or you're viewing it from looking glass of the positive, you would never ever know what is actually happening and how they are obtaining that lifestyle. And again, if you did, you may not even want the positive lifestyle, because I know I wouldn't. If I had to go through all of that, if I had to do something illegal, if I had to do something that was going to cost me the life of my own or a loved one, I don't want it. There's a lot of risk that happens behind closed doors. There's a lot of conversations, interventions, experiences that you do not see. And when I tell you, if you were told, just like if you were to put your problem into a big bowl of all the other problems in the world, if you were told, hey, you don't get to see what this negative is, but you can have this positive, would you do it? Would you gamble and take the risk? And this leads into my second one, that you are exactly where you are meant to be. The version of you that is living the life that you're living is exactly where you're meant to be. You are handling all of the things that you currently have with grace and with the capacity that you are able to. God is orchestrating and perfectly aligning your life to curate and to be uniquely fit and designed to you. You are extremely unique. Nobody can ever be you. I think there is something so special in being unique and being different, especially in a world today where there's so many trends and just so many influence around social media and how people are living their lives nowadays, that it's so easy for people to hop on trends and to behave a specific way, to look a specific way. But when you're unique and you stand out and you're different, something about that is so beautiful to me. I genuinely am obsessed. I'm obsessed with anybody that does it different, because it goes to show creativity on a whole different level, especially just in the world that we live in today. Not saying that any trend is ugly, or that if you do follow trends, because I definitely find myself there a few times. And I really don't think it is awful to be inspired by other people and to follow their ways to be able to achieve what it is that you desire. But I do think there's so much beauty in authenticity and being yourself and being unique, and knowing that you are so uniquely made and that you cannot be duplicated is power on another level, because it gives you the confidence to tell yourself that, hey, yes, this person may have this, what I desire, and yes, this environment I may want to be in that I'm not currently in, or yes, I am not exactly where I thought I would be at where I'm currently at, but I am exactly uniquely fit into my journey of life and where I'm supposed to be. To know that energy can take on new form, but it can never die. It is so beautiful being you. Always be authentic, always live in your truth, because I promise you, all of your greatest blessings lie in who you are at your core. One of the most famous stories in the Bible, Adam and Eve, when Eve ate the apple. A pastor that I was listening to really put this into a different perspective for me. He focused on how Eve ate the apple because the serpent told her something that she lacked. She had everything she could have possibly ever imagined in that garden. She had everything. The definition of the world's in your hands was literally my girl Eve in that garden. Okay, she had it all. When the serpent came to her and told her that there was this big tree, and she didn't have what this tree could potentially give her, she ate the apple because she wanted what she didn't have, what she thought she lacked. And that's one of the easiest ways that the enemy can get inside your head, is by showing you what you don't have, because he doesn't want you to focus on all the beautiful blessings that you already have. When a lot of people tell you to focus on the positive, it's annoying. It is annoying, because you're like, if I could just focus on the positive, I would. I wouldn't be this irritated or annoyed or whatever the case is. If I could just focus on the positive, I would be focusing on the positive. I know it's irritating and I know it's annoying to hear, but this is exactly why people tell you to focus on the positive, because one of the quickest ways to, again, dismiss your current blessings and to not be able to live in your happiness and in joyfulness is by stealing your joy through comparison, which comparison is just focusing on the lack of what you don't have. When it comes down to your brain and training your brain to no longer allow comparison to even exist in your brain, it requires you to start doing practices that focus on the positive and beautiful blessings in your life. I know it's annoying because it takes time and it's not a quick fix, because anything that you do, any type of mentality shift that you have or that you're looking to have, it takes time. It takes you actually needing to practice it over and over and over again, because those neurons need to get fired over and over and over again until it becomes habitual, becomes a pattern, and they automatically operate in that way. But if you're going to disrupt the pattern, especially something that's already habitual, like focusing on the lack of something, maybe even complaining or focusing on the negative, it's hard. And that is why I like to trick my brain, because sometimes our brains are naturally just wanting to focus on the negative. I always like to use the example of, if you had 1,000 positive comments and you get 2 hate comments, you are going to hyperfixate on those 2 hate comments. One of the best things I like to do for my brain is trick it into thinking negatively so that it thinks positively, which goes back to our first step, to training your brain to no longer being able to live in comparison, focusing on that negative in that positive. You just never know what is truly happening in somebody's life or what their thought process even really is. Even when it comes down to an appearance, somebody may look at you and think that you're the most beautiful person in the world, and you may look at somebody else and think that they're the most beautiful person in the world. And what your best features are some of their insecurities, and some of their best features are your insecurities. Like, you just never ever know what is going through somebody's head, what is happening behind closed doors, and making peace with that is amazing. If I am comparing myself to somebody, to something, an environment, and I focus on that negative, it kind of cancels out and then makes a positive, because then it shows me and shows my brain like, hey, there's a reason why you don't have this, and it could be for the greater of your good. Operating in that truth and authenticity of being yourself is going to be the most powerful thing that you can ever do, because you are uniquely made. Don't focus on that lack. Do not focus on what you do not have, because I promise you, at the end of the day, it's only going to steal your joy. What I like to do is do 3 things that you're grateful for every single morning. And as the days go on, as you continue doing this practice, get more and more specific. You may start off with like, I'm happy and grateful for my health and for my loved ones and for my job. But then you may get down to like, I'm happy that I can put on my right sock today. I'm happy that I can cook myself a meal. I'm happy that I have heat inside my home. Like, it may get more and more specific every single day, and that is the point, because therefore your brain can start to focus on your positives. When that comparison starts to arise, you're automatically going to be like, no, stronger than this isn't it. Like, I'm where I'm supposed to be, I'm blessed, I have everything that I need. Of course, it's going to take practice, it's going to take a while, like anything does, especially when it comes to a mentality, because our mentals are just so wired and have been wired the way that they are for years. So it can take a long time for us to actually be able to obtain the mentality that we are learning today. We may learn how to become more positive, how to not compare ourselves to others, how to be more emotionally regulated, but it's only going to come through experience and practice. You may not actually obtain the mentality that you're trying to obtain today, but rather in the next year, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, and then you can look back at yourself and be like, wow, I'm very different from the person that I was all those years back when I was learning the mentality that I wanted to achieve, that I currently am embodying today. I still find myself in moments where I'm comparing, and again, I have to either hit it with that double negative to cancel out to a positive, or I have to be stronger than that thought. Some things are a lot easier than others for me when it does come down to comparison, but it can be very, very difficult, especially because I am a consumer of media. I like to scroll on my phone a lot, and because I am watching so much content and experiencing so many different people across the world on like through my phone, sometimes I can absorb a lot of knowledge and information that may not even be occurring in my current reality, but it feels so real and my brain can't tell the difference, and I tend to start to compare myself. But it's all about reeling it back in and focusing on those 3 different mentality shifts, that double negative to cancel out into a positive, to knowing that you are so uniquely made. There is nobody like you. And when you operate in your authenticity, in your truth, you are the greatest, greatest gift and blessing that you could ever receive in your entire life. And number 3, being the fact that you can practice focusing on the blessings and the gratefulness inside your life. Do not focus on that lack. The more that you focus on the lack, then it's going to be an eternal spiral down of comparison and just not all the beautiful feelings that you would want to feel. It's so helpful to remind yourself that you are on your own time, in your own lane, on your own journey. And I often find myself telling myself that every single day. I told myself that literally this morning before I filmed this video. I was like, girl, you need to lock in to you and what you got going on and where you're currently at, because you are exactly where you were meant to be, and you need to just slow down, take it slow, enjoy the journey and the ride, because it is the Lord's timing, not yours. You're in your own lane and you're on your own journey. It don't matter what anybody else got going on. You got to focus on you. And like with any area in life, especially healing and trying to obtain new mentalities or even succeed, to just succeed in life, it's hard to get to where you're going when you're constantly trapping yourself into a mentality that is keeping you stuck to where you're currently at. I advise you to just do the work, take the time out of the day to point out those 3 little things that you're grateful for, do the little practices that will strengthen those little pathways in your brain for them to become more consistent. I encourage you because I believe in you and I know that you can do it. And I want you to be free from the shackles of the negative thought patterns and behaviors that the enemy wants to keep us trapped within, because he knows how powerful you are. So he's always going to come after you and your powers. Be authentic, operate in your truth, continue to love yourself and love others. I love you always, and I will see you in another video. Bye.